So externalities can be kind of a tricky thing to get your head around, so I thought that I'd just work some problems to kind of get you a little bit more familiar with them and a little bit more comfortable. So my recommendation here is that you pause right now and try and work through this problem on your own, and then come back, and right after this I'm going to work through it. Okay, so at this point I'm going to start working through this problem, and I hope that you have your own answer already kind of figured out. So first I'm just going to start, we know that we're talking about a negative externality, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw the normal, just kind of plain vanilla negative externality diagram. Here's demand, here's the private supply, which we could also represent as the private marginal cost, and then here's the social cost, or the social supply. So we have point A here, and that would be right here at a, not a price of A, but a quantity of A and a price of A. And then we have here point B, and this will be the quantity of B and the price of B. And so I'm always a big fan of drawing out pictures. I draw out pictures every single time that I can, and so this just kind of makes it easy for me to see what will happen. So the first thing is that we know that A is the unregulated outcome. So unregulated. And we can tell that that's not socially optimal because that's not taking into account all of the costs that society bears. That's not taking into account the negative externality here. So we know that the unregulated market equilibrium will not be socially optimal. So this answer is done. So then we see, will the unregulated market produce too little of the good? Well, the unregulated market will produce quantity A, so this is unregulated, whereas B is optimal. So B is optimal. And so since quantity A is greater than quantity B, the unregulated market will produce too much of the good. So if this was too much, it would be the correct answer, but because it's not, that is not the correct answer. So then we have this answer: the government should ban production of the good that produces a negative externality. So what that's really saying is that we should completely and totally do away with producing this good. We should just make it illegal and just kind of forget about this entire diagram. And that's not the case at all. What economics says is that there is some level of production that is socially optimal. There is, once you internalize all of these costs, there still is a reason to produce this good because there still is a demand for it at this price level. So if demand didn't exist at this price level, if demand was just a line that looked like this, just this blue line that started right here, then in this case it would make sense to not regulate this, to not allow the production of this good because the costs are too high that no one would want to buy it. But even in that case, the government should not ban the production. It should just force the producer of this good to bear all of the costs. So the government should not ban production. It should not ban production. So we know that that answer is wrong, and that only leaves D. So the unregulated market will produce too much of the good, which we saw already because quantity A is greater than quantity B. And government intervention may produce a more efficient outcome. And this is the key part. If the government intervenes correctly and either uses a Pigouvian tax or in some way creates a regulation to just make it so that this externality is internalized, then it will be a more efficient outcome. But there are plenty of times that the government just says, oh, there's an externality and we're going to intervene and we're just going to do exactly what we want, or we're going to do, it seems at least that way, that they're just going to do exactly what they want. And it's becoming more and more that we really do need to do very, very careful research and make sure that we intervene in a very, very cautious manner, in a very, very guided manner, so that we do achieve a more efficient outcome. Because, you know, the government could tax this good all the way, like the government could just say, oh, you know what, screw it, we're going to tax this good way all the way up out to here. And that would be almost, in fact, if we taxed it all the way up to here, that would be a less efficient outcome than if we just let it go right here, because we'd be taxing it too much. So in theory, we can make a market more efficient through regulation, but it has to be the right regulation. And so that's kind of the point that I wanted to draw home, to hit home here.